Hello, everyone, and welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Transportation System.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Double Dose of Disney podcast. As always, my name is Brittany, and I am joined here by my Brown Derby Lounge loving husband, Tony. On this week's episode, we're talking all about one of the hottest debates at Walt Disney World. Should you add the Disney dining plan? Is it worth it? And what is the Disney dining plan all about anyway? So we're going to break down the details of each plan. We're going to talk about our experience with the dining plan in the past and a few tips to make the most of it if we think it's worth it for our trips in the future. So you ready to talk about it?
Let's do it. This is another hot topic as usual. And is it worth it? Worth pressure? Everything is debatable in Disney based on your party, your circumstances, and what you're looking for.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Everything's worth it. Everything's not worth it. We'll do our opinions, what we think.
Yes, absolutely. I've been so excited about doing this podcast because I had said, when the dining plan was discontinued after the 2020 closure, I was like, I am holding my breath and I cannot wait until the dining plan returns. Glad I didn't hold my breath because it's finally returning on January 9th of 2024. But I just think that the Disney dining plan helps to create more of an all-inclusive vacation. When the dining plan returns, there are two different options for the Disney dining plan. There's the Disney Quick Service Dining Plan, which is $57 per adult and $24 per child per night of your stay. So both of these plans go off of how many nights you're staying. So let's say you're going to Pop Century, you're staying for 5 nights. You would pay that $57 and the $24 for those 5 nights. Then you receive 2 quick service meals and 1 snack per night of your stay. And you also get a refillable mug for each person. The Disney dining plan is also what I call the standard dining plan. That is $94 per adult and $29 per child per night of your stay. That includes 1 quick service meal, 1 table service meal, 1 snack per day, and each person gets a refillable mug. Each quick service meal credit on either of the plans includes an entree and then a specialty alcoholic or non-alcoholic beverage. On the standard dining plan for the table service credits, you get 1 entree, 1 dessert, unless it's breakfast and then you don't get a dessert, and then 1 alcoholic or non-alcoholic beverage per person. So now that we kind of have it all ironed out, what do you I guess we can talk about our experience and what we think of adding it for the future.
We like the dining plan.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like anything in when you go to Disney, you don't want to be less complicated, less whooping out your card, less let's figure out numbers,
right?
All this stuff. You feel like it's already included.
Yeah.
You feel like it. You're getting more. You already paid for it.
To me,
you can get the most expensive thing on the menu. You're like, oh man,
right?
This is really, all right. Well, what's the most expensive thing? I'm gonna get a drink on there too, and you're paid for it, but it feels like it feels free.
Yeah, because food at Disney is one of our favorite things. I would say that, right? Dining at Disney is one of our favorite things.
Top 2.
Yeah, and
one is
I was gonna say, what was the other one?
Top 3.
And there's over 400 different places to grab food from on Disney property. So getting the Disney dining plan, most of the places in Walt Disney World are included, with the exception of lounges, which I have a caveat to that I'll talk about in a minute. Lounges typically aren't included in the dining plan, or some of the specialty locations may not be included, or places that Disney Springs or something like that. But most locations at Disney World are included in the dining plan. So it really kind of opens up the possibilities of I can dine anywhere. And that's what I loved during our first trip. That's what really made me love Disney, love planning Walt Disney World, trips and stuff, is I spent an embarrassing amount of time going through one of the unofficial guides to Walt Disney World, looking at every single restaurant, determining which places had the most expensive entrees, and really kind of maximizing our plan,
It's kind of like being on a cruise.
Right.
I've never been on a cruise, but from what I've seen, it's kind of like being on a cruise. When you're there, you just get all the food you want.
Yeah.
because you already paid for it.
Yeah, and
And it feels free at the time.
one of the nice things about the Disney dining plan is that the dining plan, so when you get, so let's go back to like the credits. Okay, you're staying for 5 nights. Sorry, that's Henley. Like the girls are laying on one of their like twin pillows and Henley's going crazy. Say you're staying for 5 nights at Pop Century and you get the quick service dining plan. So you would get 10 quick service meals and 5 snacks. You can use this however you'd like. So you can use all of those quick service meal credits in one day if you wanted to. You can space them out. You can do however you want to. Just same thing with the snacks. You could save all of the snacks and use them on one day. My only thing with the dining plan that I don't really feel like is a perk is like that refillable mug. To me, that's just not a perk for us. Like we don't, because the refillable mugs, what we didn't know on our first trip in 2020 was that those mugs could only be used at the resort. Remember, I took it to like Animal Kingdom and I was trying to get somebody to fill it and they're like, we can't use that here.
Yeah, you put water in it.
Yeah. But like, you can't, and I think I was trying to get water and they're like, no, we'll just hand you a cup, which is fine. But like, if you're trying to get like a soda or something like that, like it's not a perk at the parks. Which to me is kind of weird, but it is what it is. I just like the fact that on the dining plan that you have all of those credits that you can use like however you'd like to. I think that's really cool. One of the things that I don't remember if we did it when we had the dining plan, was some people save their snack credits and they use them all at Epcot at the festival booths. Which is a cool idea because all of the festival booths are like those little meals are like snacks.
Yeah, that definitely what we would do.
Yeah.
I mean, because other than that, you're getting 4 cupcakes at the end of the night, or you're just kind of blowing it on something. You're packing your bag for the airplane ride back home.
Right? What was your okay? So I know like. Back to our 2020 trip. So we were staying at Art of Animation and Tony loved at the end of the night every night he'd say it was like a herd of cattle like getting off the buses like at the end of the night or like
it's like Stampede and like Animal Kingdom or Lion King.
Because everybody would get off the bus
people are stampeding off the scene like they haven't eaten in a week and they ate 45 minutes ago and everyone's raiding the freaking
food court
cupcakes and stuff that anything they can get in their bag and take back to their room. Like they haven't ate all week long. People just ate 30 minutes ago.
No, 1,000%. I think that was like so much fun.
It's fun.
When we stayed at Art of Animation, there was, they still have it. It's a cheesecake. It's like a cheesecake dome or something like that. And it was Finding Nemo.
Sugar dome.
And I think when the sugar hits the dome. And I think that like I had that probably like 3 times during our trip. As a side note, like we're obviously waking up multiple times a night with the girls, so we feel like we're like living on caffeine and delirious at this point. But
days don't end.
No, days don't end. They're just a continuation of the other day.
Beginning.
We're still living on like a week and a half ago when we brought them home, but it's all good. We're super happy to have them here.
We're living on the high all day, every day.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that the dining plan, like, I think that it just made it really fun. I feel like with the dining plan when we had it in 2020, I felt like there were a couple of differences to it than what it's going to be when it comes back. One of the main ones is you used to get 2 snack credits per day per person. Do I think that's a make or break for somebody using the dining plan? No, because here's why. I felt like I'm trying to figure out how to say this. I felt like
you ate more than you would eat.
Yes, exactly. I felt like I was forcing myself to eat more than I would eat typically because I just wanted to get my $1 worth.
Good. On the other hand, as somebody who likes to eat, you get to get dessert everywhere.
Well, that's true.
And most people, you go to you sit down and eat dinner. You're looking at the menu.
Right.
You're going to look at the highest price, the lowest price thing, and you're going to be, all right, what's kind of in the middle?
Yeah.
And now when you do this, you can be like, what's the most expensive thing? I'm getting that every single time.
Right. I'm bad about like not looking at the prices on things when we go to restaurants, but yes, no, I 1,000%.
If you pay for it all, you look for the most expensive thing, and the lowest thing, you go right in the middle.
No, 1,000%.
You pick the most expensive thing every time, and you feel like you're balling out, even though you already paid for it.
I totally agree with that. I do, like, I will say, since we've gotten back to Disney and not having the dining plan, I do catch myself obviously looking at prices that I wouldn't otherwise. Because like Tony said, like that first trip we ate at We eat at so many different places. So what I did was I went through unofficial guide to Walt Disney World. I went through everything, and I made a rule that we could not eat American food like more than once a day, and we couldn't eat the same type of food twice. So let's say we ate seafood once, couldn't eat it again. We ate African food once, couldn't eat it again. Like all those things. So we really like had this really diverse like menu of foods we ate, and the food we ate was really, really good. But also on that too, like Tony said, we were getting like New York strips, we were getting lamb chops, like all of those things.
They've
was
got
included.
this portioned out. So if you're going to get a burger and fries, then don't get a dining plan.
Right.
Because they're doing this thing per dollar, like based on the medium. What's the most somebody's going to spend. So if you're not going to get fancier stuff, this is not probably going to be worth it at all.
No, and
Don't do it at all.
I completely agree with that. Like I've had people ask me like when they're adding, like, should I add the dining plan on? There's a couple of caveats that I would say is not worth it. One, if like Tony said, if you're someone who's going to eat burgers and fries the entire time, don't get the dining plan. Two, if you have small kids, I don't know that the dining plan is worth it for them because you're paying $24 a child per day or $29 a child per day. If you look at the cost of kids' meals, that could be more expensive. And if you have like a little one who's not really going to eat that much anyway, then it may not be worth it. Especially if you have like a 10-year-old, you're going to have to pay the adult price on each of these plans for the kids. So it's going to be $57 or $94 unless you have a 10-year-old that's eating
and
massive
it's still
quantities.
All or nothing for your party?
Yes. Yeah. The entire party has to have it. The entire room, I'm sorry. Not necessarily your party, but your entire room has to have it.
Yeah. So definitely, yeah. For us, we like eating.
Right.
We like trying it all.
Yeah.
We like trying adventurous stuff.
Yeah.
And it works out for us because, like I said, it just feels good.
Right.
You're
Yeah, it just
walking in
feels like you're
feeling
going on this
all right,
all-inclusive trip.
What's on the menu that I'm not paying for it now?
Yeah. Well, and so one thing is too, as a side note, I had somebody ask on TikTok actually today, if you have like an annual pass or if you're like a DVC member or something like that, you're not going to be booking like an entire vacation package. Can you still add on the dining plan? As long as you are staying on site as a Walt Disney World Resort guest, yes, you can add on the dining plan. You just have to call into Disney to add it. So as long as you're staying on site at the resort, but you don't have park tickets attached because you're an annual pass holder, then you would just call to Disney and then they would add that dining plan on for you as like a back end thing. I don't like, I guess my biggest thing is when I found out that it was coming back, I went back through our last trip and I spent like 4 hours trying to figure out if it would have been worth it for our trip. Like, would we have maximized our dollar? And the answer was no. Like, I think maybe the way that we go to Disney now is a little bit different because it's not our first trip anymore or something like that. We eat more quick service meals. Like, you really have to kind of like do research into it, you know?
Yeah, at the end of the day, you're not really going to save money.
I guess that's the biggest thing.
It's just a convenience thing.
Right.
Like anything else. Like, it's how you feel when you're in the park.
Yeah.
Anywhere. You feel like you're VIP.
Yeah.
It's less of a hassle.
Yeah.
I mean, will you maybe save $1 or $2? Probably, if you get the most expensive stuff, but it's not like
force yourself to eat a lot.
You're not going to, save hundreds of dollars or something. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, and on the Disney dining plan, like the table service, so most table service locations are included as table service credits. There's a few locations at Disney that are considered signature locations. Like Flying Fish is one. Of course, Victoria and Albert's is not included in this. Citrico's Boathouse is a signature dining location at Disney. So what that means is if it's a signature dining location, it requires 2 table service credits off your dining plan. What we did in the past when we had the dining plan and we ate at Boathouse, we just paid for that separately. Like, we didn't use our dining plan credits for it because it would have eaten up 2 of our credits. And what I would recommend doing with that, if you're someone who's like looking into going to like signature places, I would price it out and see like how expensive it is. Because to me, Boathouse isn't that expensive anyway compared to other locations at Disney World where you would be like, okay, I can justify paying 2 table service credits for that, you know?
Oh, yeah. Disney price, yeah. It's not expensive.
Yeah, no. That's what I'm saying. Like, Disney prices. No, I'm not saying it's like Long John Silver's.
You're dropping a hundo for sure, but yeah.
No, it's like definitely Disney prices economical, you know? But I think that like there's so many also like I think that there's so many different like caveats to it, like also to any of the princess dining locations. This is new for 2024, but any of the princess dining locations at Disney World are now 2 table service credits. So what is it? Storybook Dining at Artist Point, Cinderella's Royal Table, Akershus Dining Hall. All of those places are going to be 2 table service credits if you want to use it for a character meal. Which that's another thing with the dining plan. Like that's a way to maximize it. Is character meals are famously expensive, and then like if you're gonna do a character meal every single day, you can really like maximize dining plan. Because if it's like $54 per person for one meal, then you've already like almost paid for half of that.
Yeah, I think there's definitely ways and places where you can definitely get more bang for your buck. Because I think Disney's, they go overall.
Right.
Like, what's the average person getting? What can we, where's the money? Like,
right.
Middle to top, what's someone going to order? And if you're talking about the, character meals, I don't think they're putting that factoring into their meal prices. This is a funny squeaking sound. There's a funny squeaking sound in here.
Yeah, I think like if you go to somewhere like Topolino's, then it's worth it. If you're eating somewhere like Chef Mickey's, then I don't know, you might as well just eat at Art of Animation at the food court. You know what I mean?
So is it worth it? And why would you do it? That's the question everyone wants to know.
Is the Disney dining plan worth it? Yeah, I hate saying this, but from an economical standpoint, not necessarily so. If you are someone who likes to go on all-inclusive vacations and you're like, I just want the convenience of having the dining plan, yes, you can use your magic band on your wrist, and you just like have them scan.
Credit card.
Yeah, just like you do in the parks, and you have them scan your magic band, and then it deducts credits from that. I also think that it's worth it if you want to be able to, or I think that it's worth it for convenience sake. I also think that if you have kids with you and you're wanting to do character meals like every single day of your trip, by all means, go and do the dining plan. But it really just kind of depends on like you. I always recommend to my clients that they do research on their own as to, because I can tell you my suggestions of, is it going to be worth it for your party, like looking at it on paper, and tell you one thing, but you know what your party's preferences are. Like Tony said earlier, if somebody's eating hamburgers and fries the entire time and they're going to eat chicken strips and they're content with just like having like quick grabbing food from quick service places, it may not be worth it. Something that I had looked into when I priced out the Disney dining plan for us, like when I was doing it in retrospect off our last trip, was I was like, okay, the table service plan we wouldn't have like really profited from because we really didn't eat that many table service dining locations this past trip. What about the quick service plan? And then when I looked at it with the quick service plan, I think it would have, but like for example, Tony ate at Woody's Lunchbox for breakfast one morning. He grabbed tachos from there. But then I got a Joffrey's coffee from a different Joffrey's coffee location. If I would have just gotten cold brew Joffrey's coffee with Tony's tachos, then that would have increased the price. You know what I mean? So if you're somebody who's going to have a cocktail with every meal, or you're going to have a specialty beverage or something like that, or if you're going to be like, if you want to do eating at like the most adventurous places, 1000%, I think it's worth it because it just opened up those possibilities, even if you're not saving the money.
So in our previous life, just us two, it's worth it.
Yes.
Because
well,
we
so
like
with the girls because they're totally
all
free.
the food. We like to have a cocktail. We
Right.
like appetizers. We like to get desserts. All in between. So like we're gonna get either way. So for us, yeah. I mean, even if we're paying the same price, maybe we'll get a couple of free things. It's worth it.
But we don't have the Disney dining plan added on for our February trip.
All right. We'll add it right now.
No, I'm saying like we don't have it like because we had just kind of debated like do we want to do it or not. But
well, that's just because we don't know. With the kiddos, are we gonna be
on
the run, or are they gonna chill out and we're gonna be able to hang out a little? We don't know.
Well,
we don't know what we're doing in life.
Yeah, that's
are
the story
we
of my life.
I don't know. What day is it? Let month is it?
Did we just bring them home
For
yesterday?
God's sakes, I'm gonna pull them.
But I think that like whenever we take them, like we could always just do the quick service plan whenever we go in February. We could always do that. And then just pay out of pocket for like those table service locations, because with the quick service dining plan, you get 2 quick service
all out of
credits per
pocket.
day. Well, yeah, but you get 2 quick service meal credits per day. So you still have 1 meal that's not paid for. And you could always just pay for those table service dining experiences separately. But it just depends on your party. Like if you total it up and it's $57 a day times however many days you're going to be there, and then you're adding up like the table service locations, it may be more expensive.
Overall, like I said, if you have a bunch of kids, it's not worth it.
Right.
It's like going to anything that's like all you can enjoy. It's not
Right.
worth it if you have small kids that aren't going to eat that much food.
Yeah.
This is kind of similar. It's just not worth it.
I think what I had kind of determined in my own head is I think the quick service plan is to me more worth it than the table service plan, unless you are going to eat character meals every day. I keep going back to that, but that to me is
Nobody
really
does
what.
that.
Yeah, but a lot of people do. Like when
Oh,
they're
yeah.
going to Disney for the first time, a lot of people do eat like multiple character meals, and then that makes it worth it. But for example, like if you're gonna eat at Sanaa at Animal Kingdom Lodge, and you're gonna get like a lamb chop, which we did.
We did.
If like
The bread service.
if you're gonna do that, are you doing that every single night? You know what I mean? Like you're probably not gonna have like a big like meal like that every single night.
We would.
Yeah, maybe. But then, like, yeah, it's just like, I don't know. Like, the dining plan is like, I love the Disney dining plan. I think it makes it so much fun. I don't think you save money from it, but I do think from a strategy standpoint, I think it's fun. And from a convenience standpoint.
And that's the whole reason you go to Disney, and they know that.
Yeah.
You want it to be like nothing else in the bubble, stress-free. You're not driving. You're not paying for stuff all
Right.
the time. It's all included. You know, it's free stuff, even though it's not. It feels like it is. So
And
it's the point of that.
Yeah, and I think like the one thing that like to make sure that you're doing if you add on the dining plan is making sure you use those snack credits, because like Tony said, like otherwise you end up in the food court at your resort and you're buying like the Mickey shaped goldfish with snack credits that are like $1.50 at home or something like
Get
that.
the Oreo cupcake.
And like, yeah, like those things aren't worth it. So you really have to make sure that you're using the snack credits. And there's different snacks at Disney, like Gaston's cinnamon roll or different things like that can really like maximize the dining plan and make it like a better
That's the thing,
value.
too. There's certain ones that are small, little portions, dinner slash, but it's considered a snack.
Yeah.
So, like, that's huge.
No, and that's true. So let's say you get like the dining plan, and you could every single morning, like you could at Magic Kingdom, you could get the Gaston cinnamon roll, and not considered a snack credit, and then you have your quick service or your table service credits to use throughout the day for lunch and dinner. If you do things like that, like I remember one morning, I think you just got a side of bacon, and bacon was considered a snack because it was just a side. We also one morning did at Art of Animation, we went to the food court. It's kind of our tradition now. We went to the food court
Every morning.
got breakfast, and then I got orange juice and Tony got a little tiny bottle of champagne, and each of those was considered like a beverage with our meal. And then we went to our table and we made a little mimosa, and they gave us little wine cups to drink it out of. It was so much fun.
You have to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
There's things like, yeah, if you don't, you got to do a little research too,
Right.
Before you go and see what's considered a snack, what's considered this or
Right.
that. If not, you're you're gonna get a handful of goldfish here when you could have got a huge cinnamon roll.
Yeah, and I think that's the hardest part of the Disney dining plan is the snacks, because quick service credits are laid out, the table service credits are laid out, but the snacks are not, and that's like the hardest thing with the dining plan. That's what I have a lot of people ask me questions about, but it's hard to tell you like this is a snack and this isn't. Once you're at Disney, it's really easy to see, because there's a square that'll be located beside something, and it's got like purple and white like check boxes, and that's notating that it's a snack credit. But before you get there, it's kind of hard to like look at it and be like, what would I get? Like, is this a snack credit? Is this not?
6 months before you go, download the Disney app.
Right.
And start looking at all the menus and places you're going and see what it is.
Because, like,
See the right times. Just start getting familiar with everything.
like, for example, back to the snack credits. For example,
Snack.
the spring rolls in Adventureland are not considered a snack credit.
Because they're $10.
Right. But you would think that they would be a snack credit.
It's a snack portion, but not a snack
Exactly.
price.
So that's kind of where, like, the snacks kind of get into, like, this, like, gray area. You used to also be
The gray
able to trade, like, I think it was, like, 3 snack credits for a quick service meal on the dining plan. Like, you could ask someone to do that. I heard somebody say the other day you can't do that anymore. I also have heard that lounges are now going to be included with the dining plan. That's what I was talking about earlier. But they would be 2 credits, which to me would never really ever be worth it unless you're eating at, like, Cruise Cup Lounge, which is, like, the lounge for, like, the steakhouse at Ale and Compass, or I'm sorry, at Yacht Club, or, like, something like that. Like, I don't really think that would necessarily be worth it. Like, going to Geyser Point Bar and Grill, that's not going to be worth it to have 2 credits, like, to eat up 2 of your credits, you know?
All the logistics and all the fancy mumbo jumbo aside, the fact of the matter is you're paying for your meals up front. The same thing as you pay for your vacation up front, because then when you get back, you don't got to be in a hole.
Right.
So think of it that way.
Yeah.
You know, you're paying
That's
for it
true.
up front. That way you're not racking up a credit card to help you really get back.
Right. That's very true. And like when we went on our first trip, we had the dining plan. We've said before, like, Tony got fired unexpectedly. He was just starting his business.
Laid off.
We were like,
Laid off. Sorry.
we were like, we were like, do we even go to Disney? But what kept us going to Disney was
You
we
always
already
go.
had,
Regardless if you have the money, you always go.
we already had the dining plan. So
Trip was already paid for.
the trip was already paid for. We already had the dining plan, so we're like, okay, this makes it all inclusive. And then we get to our resort, and they overbooked Pop, so they moved us to Art of Animation, and we asked to be placed in a different room because the room smelled like chlorine. They ended up giving us a $250 credit for our vacation, and it like we went home with like no balance to pay back because everything was paid for.
Probably did, but it was smaller than we would have been.
Well, 1000%. Yeah, okay. But, like, Disney always goes above and beyond to make everything right. Not that that's going to happen to everybody's trip, but I'm just saying, like, using the dining plan makes it more all-inclusive. And like Tony said, if you're someone who's like, well, I don't know, I don't want to come home with, like, a bunch of bills. Like, how much money should I take? People always ask me on TikTok how much they should budget for dining each day. If you're looking for that information, get the dining plan because it makes it just worth it. You can also, to go a step beyond that, you could also go and like buy Disney gift cards for like if you know that you're going to eat at like it's a place that's not included on the dining plan or something like that. So then everything again is already paid for.
Overall, like anything else in Disney, it's up to your party size, ages in your party, who eats what.
Right.
You know, there's nothing across. But for us, I would say, overall, it's worth it.
Yes, and Henley
Do you
apparently
say money isn't worth it? No, but it feels good.
Yeah, and
Feels good, it's bad.
Henley apparently, who is eating her hand in the corner in her Disney sleep sack, says that it's worth it too.
Eating air.
Yeah, and
Eating air.
Yeah, she's eating air currently because it's about to be time for them to eat.
Means we're off air.
Yeah, we're off air. So that's going to do it for this week's episode. As always, go ahead and give us a follow at the Double Dose Disney on Instagram and TikTok. Double Dose Disney fam, I'm sorry, at Instagram and TikTok. And please leave us a rating or review on your favorite podcast platform. That goes so far to help us continue growing our platform for future like content creation endeavors and all of that stuff and for the podcast each week. So we will see you back here next week.